We had arrived at the southern tip of Spain via ferry from Morocco, and were looking forward to the journey north to France. This would be our 35th country of our ride around the world, from the UK to the UK, and as we made our way towards Seville, it began with blue skies and wild camping. Passing through small towns for coffee and pastries each morning, and thanks to beautiful roads and courteous drivers, we thought that this leg of our trip would be a breeze. Little did we know what was in store for us over the coming weeks. So here we are in the Spanish countryside, just a couple of days into our ride from the ferry where we got off in Tarifa up to the border with France, which will take us a few weeks. Nice countryside riding at the moment, the weather is good, and we're making our way towards Seville where we're going to join up to the Camino de Santiago, so that should be interesting. Let's go. As we reached Seville, the weather turned and rain set in that would follow us for the next few weeks. And not just any rain, the type of rain that makes you feel wet to your bones and thankful for raincoats. It really put our wet weather gear to the test and made what was looking like an easy ride north into a battle against nature. But the positive was that we were now following the Camino, which meant a shower and warm bed in a refuge at the end of each day and the company of our fellow pilgrims. Buen Camino! We were riding the Via de la Plata, or the Silver Way, which is one of the longest pilgrimage routes to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela. For over 1,000 years, pilgrims from around the world have followed these paths, seeking spiritual renewal, adventure, or simply the experience of the journey, which was something we could relate to say the least. Along the Camino, about every 15 to 25 kilometres, there are towns with alberges, which are hostels for only those taking on the Camino pilgrimage. Some of these cost around $20 per night, some are donation based, and all are a welcome sight at the end of a wet day's riding or walking, even when you're sharing a room with 10 snoring old men. Each year, more than 400,000 people complete the combined Caminos, carrying along their pilgrim's passport, which is stamped at each stop along the way, and at journey's end they receive the Compostela, a certificate marking their pilgrimage. There are 8 main routes leading to Santiago from all corners of Spain, France and Portugal, but because of its length and tougher walking conditions, the Via de la Plata is less crowded than other routes, offering long stretches of solitude and wide open landscapes, and this makes it a popular option for bikepackers like us who want to take part in the pilgrimage. We've had a lot of rain and cold the last few days on the Camino, but at least the trail has been really nice. It's like a bike path rail trail at the moment, and we've got some snow-capped mountains up ahead of us, and it's going to get down to about -5 tonight, but we're really enjoying it. At least the sun's come out sort of today, so it's a little bit less cold than yesterday, which was dribbly and miserable, but we're getting through it and enjoying it. Stretching nearly 1,000 kilometres, the Silver Route begins in Seville and winds north through Mérida, Cáceres, Salamanca and Zamora before joining up with the Camino Frances. The route follows the old Roman road that once linked the south to the north of Spain, and along the way would pass through ancient amphitheatres, aqueducts and historic cities rich in Moorish and medieval heritage. Just leaving Salamanca this morning on our way to Zamora, and I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it is snowing. It's getting a bit silly now. It's less snow, more sleet and a bit of mud. And then, due to the freezing conditions, we thought we'd try take a shortcut, which ended up leading us into even more mud as the snow began to fall harder. This was a bad choice. This was our first time riding in snow, and it turned out it's not the fun-filled winter activity you would imagine, especially when you don't own any shoes. We were on the road early the next day due to another early morning snoring orchestra, and were doing whatever we could to keep warm, including wearing every pair of socks we owned. Thankfully, the weather had eased up on us a bit today, and while it was still freezing cold, there were blue skies and, as always, somewhere to take a break in town for a good coffee. But of course, the blue skies didn't last long. Pretty cold and wet today. We are off the Via de la Plata Camino and making our way up to the Frances Camino. So we're sort of on some different trails, right by a canal at the moment. Cold and wet, not loving it. We were now done with our time on the silver route and were ready to join the Camino Frances, but this time we'd be going in the wrong direction as we were headed towards France. We thought that all this bad weather might have meant less people than usual walking the Camino, but we thought wrong. Dressed in their ponchos, we passed countless pilgrims each day, fighting against the elements to get to their next albergue. And on this path, you're not sharing a room with 8 to 10 people, but often upwards of 20. The Camino Frances, or the French way, is the original and most popular route of the Camino de Santiagos, stretching nearly 800 kilometres from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. The trail winds over the Pyrenees, across the fertile vineyards of La Rioja, the wide plains of Castilla and Leon, and through the lush green hills of Galicia. Along the way, pilgrims pass Roman bridges, medieval monasteries, Gothic cathedrals, and countless villages, where local hospitality is a large part of the experience. Today, it remains a UNESCO World Heritage Site, combining history, culture, and tradition. But the Camino is much more than history and landscape. It's a living community. Pilgrims from all walks of life share meals, stories, and moments of quiet reflection on the road. And for many, the arrival in Santiago, standing before the magnificent cathedral, is both an ending and a beginning. For us, after such a long and solitary journey around the world, we were glad to be part of a community for a while, to share stories, muddy paths, and noisy but cosy dorm rooms. I don't think the Camino life is the life for us, much preferring the unbeaten trail and nights in our tent, but I can see why it entices so many to walk its path. On our final days riding through Spain, we picked up the pace a bit and started to cover a little more ground each day. We always had the option of getting off the Camino and taking the road, which would have been a lot faster and easier, but thought we'd stick it out, maybe due to a feeling of owing something to the Camino, or maybe because we love to torture ourselves. We had a feeling that once we'd crossed the Pyrenees, our luck might change, and as well as delicious French food, we might be in store for some much better weather. Spain saw more rain in the month that we were there than it usually sees in an entire year. This caused mass flooding and evacuations throughout the country, as well as some cold, wet and disgruntled bikepackers. Are you having fun on the Camino?
No.
More rain, more mud, more Camino. But the Camino did have one treat in store for us as we made our way towards the town of Alberges, where the famous Irache wine fountain is located. This winery is carrying on the ancient tradition of the monks of the Irache monastery, who have been providing hospitality to pilgrims for hundreds of years, by inviting all who travel the trail to enjoy a glass or two of free wine. Here we are at the famous Camino wine tap. A surefire way to put a smile on a cold pilgrim's face. Our journey through Spain probably hadn't been what we'd hoped for weather-wise, but it certainly had been memorable. We were glad to have had the Camino experience and enjoyed the hospitality and sense of community that it offered, as well as somewhere to dry off at the end of each day rather than climbing into a wet tent. The hospitality of the Spanish people and the volunteers who work in the alberges made up for our cold, wet feet and make the Camino community what it is. And on the stretches of road riding we did do in Spain, we were so impressed with the courtesy of the drivers towards us cyclists, always going out of their way to make sure we had more than enough space. In all 35 countries we've ridden through, I think it was here that we felt the most safe on the road. Final day in Spain today as we climb out of Pamplona over the Pyrenees. It's been a lot of rain while we've been here, so not the weather we've hoped for, but the trails have been good fun. We've enjoyed being on the Camino and we're looking forward to France. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel and feel free to leave us any questions in the comments. Have a look back at where we've been before and where we end up next, and find us on Instagram at We Ride Bikes Places.